So maybe for the sequel, there's also, this is Mid-Cities, and this is called Holy. Or Holly, I guess. Okay, Holly, never mind. I was looking at the spelling wrong. Okay, we're going to drop this juice off at this person's door, and then we're going to move on. And, yeah, read my story, Mid-City Boulevard Squirrels, under the pen name Ash Cole. Coffee, Jesus, and cold press. All right, we got one in Colleyville at La Hacienda Ranch, or something like that. Still on Mid-Cities Boulevard, but we're east. So, Timmy, the squirrel, is in it. So I was rereading it. Timmy, it opens with Timmy listening. Or Timmy's giving like a monologue. It's almost like a voiceover to the other squirrels. It's kind of repetitive in what he says. He talks about the horror of seeing Nutty bite it, because Nutty doesn't make it. He talks about that. Timmy's kind of a nervous squirrel, but he's also one of the leaders too. You got to read it, and I'll get to the other characters later. All right, we found them, the ranch. Known as La Hacienda Ranch, right here, and that's kind of what it looks like right there. And they have get it and go parking at the La Hacienda Ranch curbside, and you can kind of see it right there. Basically at La Hacienda Ranch, you can get Tex-Mex and steak. And while you're getting a margarita, you can watch your kids on these 25 cent or quarterly rides. Maybe quarterly throughout the year, especially with all the money that's available to spend right now. This little chariot right here. Looks like it was fabulous. Now, who cares? Just pick this up and go. Oh my gosh, it's like Twin Peaks movie with David Lynch or something. They've probably killed maybe over 300 wildlife. This entire thing is full of taxidermy. It's like a church of taxidermy. That's amazing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I told the guy in there that I've never seen so much taxidermy in one area, especially in a restaurant, in my entire life. But he said that they do Tex-Mex, especially like steaks and Tex-Mex. I mean, it's completely, that's probably like maybe $60,000 worth of taxidermy or more. So the first lead squirrel is Timmy. The second squirrel, of course, is Lucy. And she's the nervous squirrel that fears and stuff, but she keeps up, and they go get Nutty's body. And I'll get into the other characters a little bit later. So the third squirrel is named Johnny. And Johnny comforts Lucy because Lucy's very, very upset that Nutty bit it. Remember, Nutty was the squirreliest of all the squirrels. And he bit it big time, because he got hit twice by two different cars. Now, Lucy comes up and sees the devastation and begins crying and puts her face in her paws. Because why did this have to happen to Nutty? And then Johnny appears. He's another squirrel, to comfort Lucy and stay by her side until they finally go out to get Nutty. Now, eventually a cat will come about. And when the cat comes out, they have to hide. Because they have to work around not only passing cars in the middle of the night, which they decide to go get Nutty in the middle of the night, because the dangerous time to cross Mid-City Boulevard, well, is high noon. So they have to wait when the moon comes out. And remember, the squirrel does not know the moon well. That's for the owl. The squirrel is not an owl, but the owl knows the moon. The squirrel knows the soil and the trees and the nuts. Also, the wind is strange to the squirrel. Only the birds know the wind. So there's certain things about nature that the squirrel doesn't know, because that's for other animals to know better. Regardless, they do find Nutty and bring him back to the side of the road, under the fence line, to the oak tree, to eventually bury him. But they have to escape Cat. Guy's like, the Spider-Man kite. And he starts laughing. Like, no, it's the Joker. I don't know. I guess it's Spider-Man. Sure, why not? I told him I was a videographer. Which is interesting, you know? Little Spider-Man kite. I don't know. Yeah, it's a Spider-Man kite. Sure. It's an American flag, and there's the moon, and there's apartments, all kinds of stuff. All right, so basically we're in Euless, and Euless is where I wrote 3 pretty big books. You know, I don't know the literary merit, and I frankly don't care, but I did write 3 of them. The first being, I believe it probably was The Untitled. The second being The Thieves' Story, and then I went back and wrote The Untitled, which is probably lost in a computer somewhere. Could some of it possibly be on a floppy, but this was back in 2002, 2003 to 2004. Big time when I did a lot of writing. And that was in Euless. And I've got a long story about what I went through. I was on a mountain bike a lot of the time. Had to run from grocery clerks, all kinds of fun stuff. Didn't have like a whole lot of money, but I was coming very close to being a teacher. And that's when I was going to UTA, University of Texas at Arlington. And I was studying teaching classes, and I had to read a lot of children's stories, because we had to analyze children's stories to understand how writers reach children, how storytellers reach children, and how children perceive the story of other writers. So we had to understand the concept of those two things. And Mid-City Boulevard Squirrel is probably a reaction to that. One of my favorite writers at that time studying was Eve Bunting. She wrote a lot of little stories. She was from Ireland. She moved out to California. She actually wrote a lot of children's stories. And there was a lot of children's stories that we kind of studied. And it was very close to becoming a teacher. I was actually doing observation hours, done lots of substitution. I substituted all throughout HEB, worked for the HEB school districts. All the time I was on a mountain bike. And that entire time I ended up writing a play called Pray for Willie, which was about a special ed school, a special ed department within public school. And what I went through at the time when I was a substitute, or it was more like an assistant teacher. Look on the other side, it's a gold chalice award. You couldn't really see, but on the other side of that employee was the gold chalice award at McDonald's. What they do is they hand out this gold chalice for work that's outstanding. I don't know if you can see the gold chalice, but they fill it up with sweet and sour sauce and they drink from it in celebration. Got yourself a pretty cool classic car right there, too. These type of people that walk around with like headlights on, like headlamps. It's kind of cool. And that looks like an IHOP.
Six? You said water? Okay.
Oh, we got that one. Well, we are in Irving, where all things are impossible. But if you're in Christ, then all things are possible. So, if you're in Christ and in Irving, then all things are possible. Irving does have interesting trees, and sometimes the way the street lamps hit it make it look kind of interesting. You know, the way the light comes down on the tree. All right, I'm pulling into KFC. The sign is blowing. I'm listening to Memory Lane by Elliott Smith. And we're pulling up. Ooh, they got Nashville Hot with Mountain Dew. We're actually picking up something I'm dropping off at the door. Yeah, just give me a second. All right. You know, I did a long vlog. I didn't think this was going to happen, so this is going to turn it into like a third vlog. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to DFW Airport again. To drop off the KFC, the country fried chicken, which is a world famous chicken we all know. And I'll be passing into, I guess, I'll be landing at Terminal C. And I'll be dropping off the turkey. I'm sorry, I'm saying the chicken. It'd be funny if KFC has turkey. Yes, KFC has turkey now. So you can celebrate Thanksgiving at KFC with Turkey Fest. Look at that flag right there. It's a big old flag. Isn't that a red flag? Part of it's red, then white and blue. We'll get the ticket here. It's always fun to look at. And then we'll pull up probably, I'm assuming Hyatt Regency. I gotta find them, drop it off, at least in the lobby. Then we'll probably head back. Still listening to Memory Lane. So Terminal C we are going to. And someone is hungry. They even got what's called a beverage bucket. I don't know what of though. Then they got a soft drink and it looks like a bunch of chicken. Beverage bucket looks cool. It's kind of like a canteen of soda.